Greetings and welcome back to the lab. Time for a reality check. I've bought some more stuff. I pulled other stuff out. I've got other projects going on. There's a DIY-ery which I haven't even offloaded from the camera yet to start editing. But I got to get this back under control, and there's a couple of different things I'm going to do. One of them is up here. I'm going to put some dividers so I can put all of these containers that I've been buying, including these new containers here, which may not have the same stuff in them when I'm done, but some dividers so I can fit it all up here nice and neatly, and so I'm not having to like have 5 things stacked on top of each other and pull the whole stack out just to get to one of them. So that's the plan on that, and you can see I've got the lights that I kind of set up for the studio. Ultimately, they're going to get in the way, but the more I think about it, there are lights up above. One here, one over there. So these are basically, I've got the switch down here. That turns on those two, and then I have another thing back there. It's just, I can turn the lights on. Ultimately, I'm just going to move all of my little adapters. Oh yeah, and there's one other little development. I'm going to move those little Y adapters up to the top and just put it all up there, and hopefully that will provide enough light flooding down and not have the reflections down on the top of the workbench, so that I can go back to shooting the videos the way I wanted to. I also want to improve this whole stupid rig here. I set that up thinking it might help me. I'm not sure it will, so that's going to get pulled out. So first thing, got to clear it all off and put it somewhere temporarily, and then I can get to actually moving the lights, and then I got to go get some materials and I can build the dividers. Oops, quickly glossed over it. One of these days I'm going to show you taking apart a hard drive. You can actually harvest the magnets from the hard drive, and that's what I've done, because these two just keep disappearing on me, and I just figured, well, they're magnetic. I mean, they're iron, and they'll stick to the magnets, so I'm not going to lose them anymore. So I can get a whole string of magnets going across, because I've got a bunch of old dead hard drives that aren't useful for anything other than harvesting parts out of them. So that's kind of part of the plan. Okay, well, it's still kind of a wreck, but I got the main objective was getting those lights. So now we've got some nice bright lights up there shining down, and I think that actually looks fairly good on video. I guess the true test will be once I get it mounted up something like this. Yeah, I can still see reflection, but that's probably just because it's a shiny surface. So there's not a whole heck of a lot I can do about a shiny surface, except maybe get a mat that I could put down, something like that, something like Julian Illett does. I guess Big Clive didn't shine up his, it looks like it's basically the same material. Looks like he didn't really shine it up. Oh, that's interesting. The color kind of changes on me. So anyway, that's where I am on that, and the next thing is going to be to get the materials and start building the inserts to put on the shelf between there and start stacking things up. Okay, so ooh, got a bird. I was going to say, so I picked up some lumber, some materials. I don't want to say I got wood. And I really only need about 2. I've got a rough plan that I drew out and kind of figured out. You know, this will give you a rough idea what it's going to look like. And then I just kind of listed everything and figured out 2 boards. I bought 3 because the last time I wanted to build another planter, I just didn't have enough. I was left with this piece of wood, and I haven't been able to use that. So, I mean, it's all cedar. It's all about 5.5 inches wide and about 5/8 of an inch thick. It's one of my favorite woods to work with because it's easy to cut, it's easy to sand. As long as you pre-drill holes, it won't split too much. So I should be able to, well, basically, step 1 is to sand everything. It's just kind of easier to sand it all at once, and then I'll have to do a little touch-up sanding after I do the cuts, but there we go. Okay, so the materials are cut, and normally I would materials are prepared, they're sanded. Normally I would cut by hand, but I've got enough cuts that it just kind of makes sense to actually pull out the table saw. Yeah, it's just a little portable table saw, but it sits in a box, sits under a shelf. It's a bit to take it out, but here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and see about cutting the first couple of pieces. Alright folks, there you have it. That's that one. I guess the next thing is for me to figure out the camera rig. But now I can move 6 of those art boxes or storage boxes with the 24 bins, whatever you want to call them. I've got 4 of them right now. I've got one smaller one. That'll all fit in there. And I've got room for 4 of these pups, so I can get those in. I got 3 of them so far, so I left one more space for one more. And wow, I mean, it's hot out and I'm worn out, and it's a holiday, but things need to get done, and I'm getting things done. Actually, now that I look at it, I was kind of wondering what to do with the space up above, but honestly, even though I don't have the dividers, that fits almost perfectly. But I could also probably put a pad of paper, things like that, and I got the little spot over on the side here. I bet you there's something I can slip in there. I mean, if nothing else, I've got this. My box of miscellaneous hardware fits almost perfectly there. Almost like it was intended to be there. But I think I'm going to put it back up on the shelf up above for the moment. I don't want to knock it over while I'm filling all this up. But I got to go clean everything up now. Get myself a drink of water. Put the tools away. But that's pretty much it for this project. And then we'll get the workbench cleaned up. And I know I didn't give you a set of plans or all the rest of it, but honestly this is kind of a custom thing. If you don't buy the same size art boxes as I had, or the bigger storage bins, you know, you got to take the measurements and all of that. And I basically did this with about 2 boards, 6-foot dog-eared cedar fence boards. I just love working with the stuff. It's not super duper sturdy, but I mean it'll hold. There's a ton of little screws. Oh, I wanted to show you that. These trim screws, and it's not an endorsement for this particular brand, but I mean they're just these tiny little screws that look almost like nails. They have a little square head. And I mean, I put the square head in my little cordless screwdriver. I pre-drill everything because this wood is prone to cracking if you're not careful, and in fact you can see one that I missed. But anyway, this was just a little update from the lab, and I hope you learned something. Take care. Until next time, folks.